you?
Who would rush me? Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited that we have such a great group here. And for those at home who are watching, this meeting is for you. So this meeting is about being able to dialogue, which we can't do in regular meetings. We can listen and we can answer questions at a later date, but we can't dialogue. So we want our community to feel like there's a place where we can have laid back dialogue and just kind of just open discussion about whatever you'd like to discuss. So was there a sign-up sheet or something right there?
There is, but nobody's.
Okay, well, let's do it this way. If nothing's on it, let's just take turns, and whoever would like to come and speak, ask a question, give some information about something coming up, whatever, this is your meeting. So with that, let's just get started.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Meredith Kaiser, 7321 Cox Run Court, and I'm here as one of the friends of Bowie Park, and they've asked me to put some questions to you. Really, what we are hoping for is an update on some of the things that are currently going on. We're particularly curious about the engineering projects to do with the proposed bridge for the perimeter trail. Where are we with that? And of course, the other thing that we know the community is really interested in is what's the timeline for the grand opening and the great entrance to the playground. And we're also wondering if how we're getting along with the proposed cooperation with TDOT for doing beautification projects, because we know that the park is one of the sites that they have said they would like to help beautify in Fairview, and also the median and the area down where 96 and 100 come together. So could you tell us how we're doing and what you project to be happening in the next little while?
Okay.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so as far as the bridges are concerned, I know that we've had interest. Actually, there's a new manager at Publix, and she reached out to me and also has talked to Keith and Bree. We have two new team members or employees, whatever. Bree's been here for a while, but we have Zena now. She's our naturalist. So we're really excited about those two ladies coming on board, because now we can start having our camps for the children again. And there's one scheduled. Bree, the camp that's scheduled, what is the process with that to get signed up?
March 11th through 14th, and you can register at the Nature Center. We have packets available.
Okay, it's an art camp, correct? Yes, it's a nature and art camp for the children, right?
Yes.
Okay.
7 through 11.
7 through 11, and you can sign up at the Nature Center, and it's March 7th through 11th? Sorry, don't get that date wrong, 11 through 14. Oh, so that coincides with spring break. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
that's good, because that coincides with spring break, so the kiddos can have something to do during spring break, and that's a fun kickoff to us opening that back up to having the children come and learn about nature. So anyway, back to the bridge. So the new manager at Publix reached out to me, and she has spoken with Bree and Keith. They're interested in. I've known of these projects before, but it's not just our Publix. They've chosen our Bowie Nature Park as something that they want to put on their agenda for all the Publix in the area. They send volunteers out and money to do certain things. So they're going to plant flowers and they're going to put straw out and just different things that we need, just a refresher at Bowie Nature Park. But there was a mention of working on the bridges. And what we have to understand is the city always has to be aware of, possible litigation if someone gets injured. So in order for us to be able to, if someone did get injured, show that that bridge was engineered properly built, the city has to be, totally the ones to do that. And we can't have just volunteers do that. So the city, Tom, if you'd like to maybe say something about, what what's going on right now with that.
Sure. It seems like everybody's really picking back up as far as their workflows after COVID. Engineering firms are just covered up, and it's virtually impossible to get somebody to come out and look at one bridge. We've compiled several park projects that need to be engineered, including Historical Village, a couple other areas in Bowie, and that bridge. And we're I've been in contact with the engineer with Wold Engineering, and we'll have to put out it's done several park projects, but we'll have to put out a RFQ and take those in and pick a firm. But there's several out there, but finding one that has the time is the key. But we are on it, and hopefully the goal is to at least get that bridge done before the end of this fiscal year, and I would love to get the portion of Historical Village done that at least involves the parking area and some lighting, and then hopefully move forward rather quickly after that at Historical Village. But I'm working with Keith. We are getting a maintenance plan for Historical Village in line, where we want to make sure we're taking care of that property, keep it in the state museum status, where we're not just slapping boards up. We're doing it the way to keep it historically intact. But yes, we are on that. I have been on it and should be looking for an RFQ, I would say, for seeking engineering firms for park projects within the next 2, 3 at the latest board meetings.
Thank you. There is, I think, an issue of time being of the essence with the Triangle School project because of the grant expiring.
Yes.
Yes,
And-
it has to be done by June.
Yes, by June.
I mean, this particular issue. So how about the grand opening?
Go ahead.
Keith and I have also talked about that. We have got scheduled to go ahead and get the sign constructed, and Keith and them have a plan to close off that back side. We are hoping to get that in a ribbon cutting by late April, early May at the latest.
Great news. One last thing, I'm going to put a plug in because Bree and Zena are having a meet and greet tomorrow morning.
And
10 to 12.
That's right.
So-
That's right. I appreciate you bringing that up because I think that's an exciting time for people to come and welcome them and just be able to have this nature center back open to our kids. So everybody from 10 to 12 tomorrow morning.
Right. Thank you all.
Yes.
Explain something about the median out there briefly.
Sure.
Okay, the Parks and Landscape Board is working on the bylaws there. Hopefully we can have those ready at the next meeting, which is pretty soon, Monday night, I think. The workshop, I'm hoping I can find a schedule tonight, and hopefully, I know we got a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting at this next Board of Commissioners meeting, but I'm hoping that we can work in a workshop pretty soon, possibly before the planning commission meeting next time, for a workshop on the bylaws as well as the tree ordinance issues, and that being one of the thing as far as the median goes. We have to take care of our part first before I can get permission from the state in order to do any tree planting or any shrub removal and this type thing. So hopefully the workshop, when we get it scheduled, will clarify that. Thank you.
Before we ask someone else to come up, does anyone else on the board have anything to say about the park or the grand opening or anything? Okay. Who's next? Yes.
Evening. My name is Debbie Smith. I reside at 7154 Chessington Drive in Fairview. I'm a fan of Bowie Park. I hike there regularly, and I have a concern. Last week, while hiking with a friend of mine, when we approached the paved drive that leads to the Van Lake, there was a young teen operating a remote control car, and my friend had called out for him to stop. She had a small dog on a leash. He maybe didn't hear, so she said stop, and he did. I'm just wondering, from a standpoint of the Bowie Park rules, if there's any plan to, or maybe it is already underway, to revise the rules of the park. I'm not sure if a remote control car in that particular area should be allowed or not. Does anyone have an opinion on that? The reason I bring that up also is because I do ride horses there with my friend regularly when the weather is conducive to it and the park is open. And that scenario with a horse can result in a pretty dangerous situation with a remote car going towards somebody on a horse. So I just have a concern about that. I'd like to prevent an accident before it happens. I don't want to take away fun of children that like remote cars, but I didn't know if the fact that Bowie Park is a nature park, if that's something that the park or the Friends of Bowie Park or your group has an opinion on that, or I don't know if anything is already in the works.
Keith, can you speak to that?
Into that, we do not allow that kind of stuff because of that, horses or dogs. So if you see that, please contact us. And if it's after hours, we can get a hold of an officer.
Okay, sure. I just was wondering then, that incident prompted me to go online to the website to take a look and see if the rules were on the website of Bowie Park, and I didn't find anything concerning that, nor did I see the rules that are posted on a couple of the boards of all the rules related to if you encounter a horse or somebody on a bike, what to do. So I just thought, area of improvement would be to add some additional verbiage to the website so that all newcomers coming to the area and all the influx of the population here, people need to know what the rules are, and hopefully people will abide by them. If not, I will definitely bring that to the attention of the park rangers.
And that's a good point. That's what I was going to ask next. When do we have park rangers at the park?
Typically, we have rangers there from about 8 in the morning until 4:30, 5 o'clock on the weekends. During the weekdays, approximately the same time. So they're out there 7 days a week. And I know we have police officers that patrol that, at least patrol officer. I think every patrol officer has to go through there at least once on their shift.
Yes.
I think that part of the playground discussions, we're having some new signage in some areas, so maybe some rule signs would be good, some updated rule signs. Do we have signs with Rangers number or how to contact Rangers or anything like that? Maybe some updated signage that does kind of clearly delineate some of the rules or things, if all of them can fit on a sign.
Well, and most people can call, even if it's not a ranger, they can either call the police department, or if they call the nature center, I end up getting all those calls anyways on my cell phone.
Okay, so call Keith or the police. And there should be a ranger riding around too, so if you see something like that, you can wave them
Well,
down. or
yeah, I
something.
do have his number in my,
Okay,
my
excellent.
phone, but I didn't know if that particular scenario was
Warranted, yes,
allowed
ma'am.
or not, so I didn't want to jump to the conclusion and, bother them with maybe some other tasks they might be performing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, any concern you have, you're more than welcome to call them.
Right, and I do, and I have spoken with you a few times, so I'm not opposed to, trying to make it a better park for everybody, and I just love the park, I do.
Yes.
Miss Debbie, keep enjoying the horses. We were neighbors for 14 years, and I did not know you rode horses. Anyway, continue enjoying it.
Yeah, I don't ride them that frequently, but when I do, I enjoy it. And
Well, I'm not able to right now, but one day I'll be back on one.
right,
Thank you.
right. Well, thank you.
And I can see where that, a remote control car could spook a horse, and that would be dangerous. As a horse person
Right.
myself, I get that.
Okay, well,
So,
appreciate your
Thank you.
consideration.
And I agree with Vice Mayor Butler. I think if we have some ranger numbers on the signs spread out throughout, so that if there is an issue, somebody can, have a number readily available to be able to call. So that was a good point.
Right. And on a separate occasion, I did see, all those big rocks along the Van Lake. I've seen children picking them up and launching them into the pond, or the lake, you call it. And I'm just like, I don't feel it's my duty to correct them, because sometimes parents can get pretty protective, and rightly so, but those rocks are there for a reason. So anyway, you'll maybe see a few rocks in the pond.
That's a good point.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Who's next? Yes.
Good evening, LaRonda Williams, 7201 Dice Lampley Road here in Fairview. First, I want to acknowledge all three of our schools here in Fairview, but particularly our elementary school and high school for their recent award for the 2022-23 Award Program Excellence. For our teachers and our educators, I want to thank you for that. I did want to revisit the conversation that you've had in the past about stoplights and TDOT and any other jurisdictional issues. Are we looking at getting more stoplights? Where are we in terms of getting those expenditures allotted for us to get stoplights at our intersections? And if you can address that, I appreciate it.
Mr. Daugherty?
Only two that I know are for sure are Cumberland, Crow-Cut 100 intersection. That is totally a state project. And then the city is taking on the intersection at Highway 96 and Northwest Highway, which that is a city project. As for timeframes? Who knows? No, it's
Please don't put that out there.
we're hoping to have Northwest Highway 96 completed within 24 months. I'm knocking on wood on that. Like I said, everything right now, it seems like it's just taking longer than it ever has before. Then, as far as, I mean, they're further along. They've bought. I think they bought up all their right of way. I believe. We're just on the state's schedule as far as 100 in Cumberland. Thank you.
Mayor, I will just add the sidewalk project on 100 has coincided with the Cumberland intersection improvements, and so it's had some delay because they're trying to do them together. And so I think that's kind of convoluted a little bit, but they've acquired the right-of-way in the intersection. They've got most of the right-of-way on 100. I think they're finalizing things, but last I heard, we were in the final engineering, so then the next would be construction, next phase. So like Mr. Daugherty said, they keep telling us soon, and it's never soon enough, so.
And I will be glad when that traffic light, and I will, I know there's accidents that happen there. Last night was a pretty bad one. So I was 2 cars back from it and got to sit there, and it was, right there at the intersection. So I kind of videotaped it and everything. Just if I can reach out to anyone, I go to the GNRC meetings, which is Greater Nashville Regional Council, where they make decisions, in our transportation board, we make decisions about, all of this. So I wanted to get some pictures and video to just show them that intersection needs to be handled. And like Vice Mayor Butler said, the sidewalk project is coinciding with that. So that's kind of what's going on right now. So we'll all be excited when that traffic light gets there. Anyone on the board want to speak about that?
Other than the fact that I've been to TDOT myself and spoke with the department that's in charge of that and tried to put in a good word for Fairview, as well as the GNRC that Lisa's been going to. And I come at it every day, and I'm taking my life in my own hands when I come out and turn left and go toward the Stop and Save or the rec center or whatever. But I'm very well aware of what the problem is there, and just wish we could snap our fingers and it'd be done tomorrow. But we would love to, but we keep trying. Thank you.
Mayor, in a political move, I will say Sam Whitson is our state rep to pass the buck. But to call him, email him, every time I see him, I ask him about it, and he is not running for re-election in November. And I saw him a couple weeks ago and said, please, before you were gone, get this finalized. And so he says he's working on it, but citizen reminders are good. So
Absolutely. Reach out to Sam Whitson, because he wants to accomplish things for us before, like Vice Mayor Butler said, before he's no longer in this position. And he was here, or actually not here. We had an award that was given to one of our police officers, and spoke to him about that. And in that process of him acknowledging this officer with the state legislature, he did say, like Vice Mayor Butler said, that this is one thing he wanted to make sure that was accomplished before he's out of office, is getting that light in. So we do have an advocate, but it's good to, email him. All right, who's next?
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Commissioners. Appreciate you guys doing this. Town Hall. I didn't know that it was a thing on a regular basis. So, my name is Marshall Walker, and I live at 7229 Northwest Highway. And I'm here just to represent a few of my neighbors that live in the section of Northwest Highway in between Cox Pike and all the new developments that are going on at the corner of Elrod and Northwest Highway 96, the widening of the road. And so we'd just like to know if there's any kind of, any plans on actually paving Northwest Highway. The Board of Commissioners, or the city, annexed the whole of Northwest Highway back in, I'm pretty sure it was 2010. And if it had been left in the county, we have roads, just a few to name, Dice Lampley, Crow Cut, Anderson, that have been paved since then, that I feel like we probably would have gotten a road paved if it had been left in the county for that. So part of it is we'd just like to see if there's any plans, not the section that's being, because writing my property taxes and, the check today and seeing the widening of where the new Bellhaven subdivision is going in. So we feel like it's just been neglected. I could be wrong. And we could be jumping the gun because it is still winter. And I understand that, not the best time to be paving things right now. But we just want to find out if there's any plans on doing anything with the section of Northwest Highway in between Cox Pike and Highway 96, besides what's been being widened and redone right now for that. I could be wrong, but it's one of the worst roads in Fairview now. Like, it is terrible. And when they come out and patch it, and literally you'll have 3 big holes in a row, and they'll fill in like 2 and leave 1. And I'm not criticizing anybody, it's a horrible road. So we just want to find out if there's any plans on doing anything with that section of Northwest Highway.
Mr. Darty? It looks like it's your show tonight.
We, I think it's second on the list behind Crow Cut. We've got some American Rescue Plan money. I believe there's 3 culverts that are going to be replaced should be soon. We're working with CEC, doing their engineering, getting everything costed out. And but we've got a list of 13 projects that, depending on, it's just like everything else. Everybody needs paving at the same time. But I think we've got secured that we can get Crow Cut and Northwest done in the spring. If not in the spring, early summer. But I'm hoping they'll be the top first 2.
That's cool. Like, which area of Crow Cut?
Not Crow Cut, Chester. I'm
Chester.
sorry.
Oh, Chester, okay. Yeah, definitely, as well, too. And this is more of point number 2, if I can take a few more minutes.
Absolutely.
This is more of like kind of vision for what it could be, except for, unfortunately, Northwest Highway is one of the most beautiful spots in Fairview. The little tree-lined area, I think, that's going to be taken over. I think that's going to be actually a different road, if I'm right, with the new subdivision. That little alleyway of trees, but it could be, except for the litter problem, which I don't understand why Northwest Highway and Cox Pike get to be the dumping grounds of Fairview, but it's a beautiful spot. I don't know if you guys have ever driven down, and I know this is all about money, and we can only move at the speed of cash. Completely understand that. But have any of you ever driven through Donaldson Parkway and Sullivan Farms in Franklin? I don't know who did the development, but if you look at it, Northwest Highway, eventually when all of these approved developments, the ones that are being built now, Bellhaven, probably more land is more of the older generation sells their land off, we're going to end up with being a very dense area down that whole corridor. If you look at Sullivan Farms, it is a very dense neighborhood. If you pull out and look at a GPS, you can see just how dense that development is. When you're driving down Donaldson Parkway, you would never know it. It is a beautiful parkway. So we have sidewalks on both sides, bike lanes, and a beautiful row of red buds and dogwoods and just beautiful trees. It is a beautiful section. You would hardly know that there's just, thousands of homes.
And it's fenced on both sides beyond that, right?
Exactly. It is well designed. I don't know who developed that. Brandon, you guys, I don't know if anybody can find out, but they did a great job of doing that in a very dense area. And I think Northwest Highway, that corridor is going to be like that one day. So we have the opportunity. I know it's going to cost money, but my neighbors will probably hate me for saying this, but I will be the first one to give up part of my property. If I could get that, I would give it to the city. So yeah.
And I've not seen this, so
Y'all can
how
hold
do you
me.
spell it? I'd like to go down there and look at it.
So,
Donald?
and my wife's probably going to hate me for saying that too. But I literally would give away feet, however many feet I need to do that, because we love that area. We would love to stay there. We'd love to age in place there and stay there the rest of our lives. Right now, I'm scared to walk on Northwest Highway because of the traffic, the construction trucks between the 2 developments that are being built right now. The one over in Polston Place and all the new ones that are going down, those trucks fly up and down Northwest Highway. It is ridiculous. And not just that, but just traffic in general. I borrowed a radar gun from a baseball friend, and I really wish I could play the video for you. Like, It's pretty bad. So I just stand out there in my
Is that
driveway.
accurate on cars?
It's very accurate. I tested it. No, it's actually a speed gun. So, I mean, whatever we could do. So I would just encourage you guys to go drive on Donaldson Parkway. And
Is it Donaldson or
Donaldson.
Donald? How do you spell it? I want to look it up.
Like Donaldson Creek.
Donaldson Creek Parkway.
Yes, Donaldson Parkway in Sullivan
Right off
Farms.
of it runs between MacHatcher and Lewisburg Pike.
Exactly. So it's through two main thoroughfares, just like Northwest Highway. The other thing too, I don't know what it would take to change the name of a road, but I would love the name of Northwest Highway to be changed. It's not a highway. So, and I think maybe that gives people license to be like, oh, it's a highway. I'm just going to fly down this road. So like Northwest Parkway or something to reflect what it is. So I think we have a great opportunity to do that. And without a whole lot of projects being in place, like I agree with the people, the gem of Fairview is definitely Bowie Park. But we shouldn't all have to go to the park to enjoy nature and to enjoy things. I'd love to get out and take my grandkids on a bike ride or things like that. I grew up in neighborhoods that I could do that in, and Fairview was okay for doing that in the past. So I think we can still be that. So anyway, so just my thoughts, change the name, pave it, do what you can to make it a beautiful parkway.
Tall ask tonight.
Anyway.
Maybe back in the day that was like, considered a highway, a highway.
Well, it probably was. It probably was a highway, but I don't know if that's really. It could just be a mind thing. But but thank you for your time. Appreciate you guys listening. I don't know if you have any comments on that. Tom, thank you for kind of that. If we get it paved that fast, that would be awesome.
Let me get permission before you leave. I have permission to speak? Sure. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the trees. The redbud tree is it's the city tree. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I would love to see them out there. The dogwoods, I wouldn't mind that at all, but the redbuds are our tree for the city. And that's what my plans are, if I can get it accomplished, to put in the median up there at Highway 100 and the Cloverleaf to 96. Take out all the shrubs and put in redbud trees down through there. They're low maintenance, they're low grow, they don't grow up 70 feet in the air, and they're a beautiful tree year round.
Definitely.
So,
and
anyway.
we've already lost so many woods on that Northwest Highway area. It would be, the more we can get, the better.
Yeah. Anyway,
So,
thank you for your
thank you.
comments.
Thank you. I have a question of, I'm sorry. No, you go. Okay. I had a question of Jamie real quick. Sorry, Officer Meadows. Sorry. I know that we have been looking recently, there's been a lot of graffiti out in that area. Has that stopped, slowed down? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's under investigation still, and we're looking into it. And I don't know that it's stopped. There's still some areas that are getting some graffiti. I know that's Northwest, and Dice Lampley has been one of those areas we're looking into.
I know that Chief spoke to the board maybe a couple meetings ago and asked the community, I know there are people watching tonight, people here, if anyone sees anything, anyone doing any type of graffiti in our community, please report it to the police, because we have no use for that. So we want to keep Fairview beautiful. And I just wanted an update on that, because I heard a lot about it for a while, and then it kind of stopped, it kind of died down. So I didn't know if maybe they moved on or it was still going on, and maybe just kind of let the community know again that we need help to just kind of be aware.
Absolutely. Any help, we will gladly accept.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Walker, I know we have talked about Northwest and design ideas several times. I think somewhat the picture or vision of that was kind of there. That new road that was going through that new subdivision was supposed to be a three lane, so a turn lane in the middle, 2 lanes, sidewalks on both sides. The vision was to continue that all the way out to Fairview Boulevard. There'll still be discussions about that from the other development. So to try and make it wider, and I don't think it has bike paths. We've talked a lot about bikes and stuff like that, but the 2040 plan has a road section based off of the the traffic or the path pattern, and so I think that's kind of what the direction was. But one of the discussions we had when that road was drawn through that development was to not have any forward-facing houses on that section, to try and keep the lots more interior so you don't have a bunch of driveways coming out and let more traffic and so. I think the vision was kind of there, similar, like you're saying, to Sullivan Farms, where the development would be off of the main path, so then you put street trees and things, and that neighborhood's been there a long time, so those trees have grown a bunch. But I think the vision's a little bit there, and we're getting there. As far as your section, it may be a tall task or order. The hardest part, like you said, would be acquiring right-of-way to try and extend it. But I think if we accomplish that new section, if we accomplish the section out to Highway 96, we would obviously start having discussions probably about, hey, we need to close out Northwest because 3/4 of it is improved. And so I may not still be here, but those discussions will be had. The other note I wrote was, I think it was quoted from one of our staff members, it was either 22 or 23 at some point, that we had spent more money on paving roads that year than the city of Fairview had spent in the 10 years prior. And so we've got a lot of catching up to do, and we know that, and we're paving some roads. But I think it was not paid for so long, so some of the roads are in such disrepair now, but it is a high priority now. I think 2 years ago budget, one of the things we talked about, any excess property taxes that we had that were above budget, we were just gonna try and put towards paving roads. We've got ARPA funds for helping for stormwater things and culverts, and then we, of course, took out the bond to make some improvements and stuff. So it is a high priority and hopefully something that we can start working on. Yes, sir.
One other thing that, I'm fourth generation Fairview, been here my life, and I've always kind of enjoyed being able to get to a dirt road pretty quick. But as I've realized as we grow, most of our roads are old county roads that there's no base. It's just. It's not like like a lot of the developments you're looking at. It's just it's going to take a lot of effort to get some of this stuff done. But we sure appreciate everybody's input, and we realize that we're behind in the transportation area, and we're going to be looking at areas for. We realize we'll never have the budget for it. We're going to be looking at ways to fund things in other ways. But appreciate everybody's input on transportation.
Mayor, one other note I forgot to say, and this is just kind of with the city manager's discussion. When on Fernville Road last year, we picked up, a developer was paving a section. The city came in and paved with it. So I think we're going to try and take opportunities like that to where a developer or somebody is already paving a section or making improvements, but we can jump in, extend it, and not have mobilization fees and kind of save some fees on paving. And so when new developments are doing their final paves and making improvements, we can tie in and take it a little bit farther and kind of hopefully save some dollars.
Anyone else on the board want to speak to paving roads?
I'll speak to Sullivan Farms. You won't believe who one of the major builders was.
Who's that?
D.R. Horton, all brick four-sided homes.
I have nothing to add, Mayor. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes.
How are you? Donald Buffalini, 4010 Brazelton Way. I wasn't going to speak, but I just want to ask you guys a couple of things. For Mr. Doherty, you guys, thank you very much for putting the stop sign in Cumberland Estates. It's made a huge difference in the area. Less Facebook posts from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
However, you guys put the stop sign right behind a tree. Perhaps we can either shift that sign over a little bit, or perhaps put something down on the ground, a white line pulling up to the sign, so it's a little easier to see. Because, like I said, that stop sign is about 5 feet behind a new tree. That's not tall enough yet. So, also, I see most of the board and a lot of town members and not a lot of city residents involved in the high school, the middle school, elementary school sports. Fairview basketball just had one of their greatest seasons. Started off slow, but they ended up tremendous. Had some big ball players there right now, and it would be nice if the city would help promote to the residents of what's going on as far as sports. We have the website, if we can just utilize that and just help promote a little bit more about what's going on. Fairview football, this past season, a lot of you have been there, we've had beautiful nights, and unfortunately, the bleachers have been empty. I don't know if it's the parking situation that they're charging for, which should be fixed, but I just feel like there's more that maybe the city can help do to promote the sports and what's going on at the schools. I know Williamson County can only do so much what they do, but it would be nice if we could maybe just post some things. I know I reached out to the mayor, and thank you very much. She helped post the basketball game that was last Saturday night. I mean, it was a Saturday night, and there was not a lot of people in the stands for a regional playoff game. It was big for the kids. They would have enjoyed a lot more people being there. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of folk there. And we have a beautiful area that we can do it in, you know, the beautiful arena that we have in our stadium that we've put so much money into. Hopefully, we can promote it and do some more things, maybe even have the board, you guys sitting up there, sponsor and work in the concessions one night. Or we could do like a dunk tank or something. No, I'm joking. Just, also, you know, a big thank you. Being in this city for 3 years now, I see that the city's growing. You guys are hiring more employees. It's wonderful. I think it's great with everything you guys are doing. And a suggestion for Northwest Highway, just drop the high. Make it Northwest Way. That's all I have.
You know what? That's. I do want to say, Don, that Richard Ross here with the city, who's our communication officer? No, what's it called? Public information officer. I'm so sorry. I drew a blank. I was like, communication and an officer, and okay, so public information officer. So anyway, he is very good about, and you know, we encourage, and I'm gonna say it again. We've got a young lady who's gonna come out. She was elected at the school as the mayor of Biztown. And so she's going to come out March 7th, and she's going to open the meeting, and she's going to wear a little top hat, and she's going to do her speech that she gave to get elected. So I think that's a lot of fun. But, you know, we always encourage sports. The band's coming out. We're gonna give them some recognition for all of the awards that they've gotten in the past year. But we want this, our board meetings to involve community. So if, you know, I would like to encourage, which I'll reach out to some of the coaches, but if they would talk to Richard Ross and just let him know, I'm sure that there wouldn't be a problem putting things out on the website. Also, you know, I know several of the coaches because of doing the pictures over the years at the games, but I'd like to reach out to them and just, you know, reiterate the fact that we'd love to recognize the accomplishments of not only sports, but academics and, you know, whatever goes on in the schools. So that's something big that we keep, you know, asking for that. But I think if I reach out personally to some of the coaches, you know, that will happen. So, but Richard Ross, I'm pointing here because he sits there some of the meetings, but he can be reached out, you know, up here at City Hall. Anybody have any comments about sports or? Okay. Okay, so anybody else have anything they'd like to say tonight?
Leslie Street. I'm at 1062 Highway 96 North in Fairview. I just have a few questions. One of them is, how many times can a bond be renewed before the city will take over and complete the repairs for the citizens? I had asked this before, and I was ignored, and no answer was given. So I'm just wanting to know what is an expected date for everything to be completed, that we don't have to keep renewing bonds for developers. Another one is, from the meeting earlier, the mayor did not talk to most of the people on Northwest Highway, including my mom, who is completely directly impacted by everything those developments are doing on Northwest. And she's not allowed to be here to represent herself. There was one part where her house was the only house connected to a piece of property, but because she was banned from all city property, she wasn't able to be here to represent her home. And that was really wrong, especially when it was not done correctly and illegally. The people who were here trying to get their property rezoned for Crowcut so that they could have 3-acre plots, well, just putting 1 acre into the city still doesn't fix the whole fact that they needed 3 plots, and that's only taking away 1, but you still got to have 3 plots and 5 acres for Williamson County. So it didn't help them. Also, the concern was about how what's stopping them from coming in and wanting more houses. Y'all are the ones that stop that. Y'all are the ones that either rezone it for higher density or don't rezone it for higher density, not them. And as far as the roads go for them, well, we all know roads in Fairview. It's no different than any of the other ones. Northwest, Elrod, there's so many roads out there that have not been well taken care of, so what's one more road? The next one is there was a citizen that was up here to talk at the special call planning commission meeting, and I want to know why I wasn't allowed to talk, because my mom can't be here. So I'd like to have represented her and what she's going through, just like he was able to. And I would also like to make the comment that I was not happy at the last town hall because I had the city attorney approach me after the meeting, and he verbally attacked me in front of my friend about me laughing at him when I did no such thing. And so he has come at me, and it wasn't nice for the city attorney to come to a citizen and treat them that way. Thank you.
Ms. Street, there was a citizen's comments, and you could have signed up for that for tonight. You realize that, right? For the meeting prior.
Correct. But we didn't know what was going to be discussed at the time. So when y'all were listening to him about his ideas over there, didn't give a chance.
I'm gonna address a bunch of things you talked about. Do you mind? Because I know we're gonna have, yeah, thank you. I would have been, of course, I'm not the chair of the planning commission meeting, but I'm sure if you wanted to speak, then he would have allowed you to speak. So in that case, please just make us aware that you would like to say something. I would like to address the situation with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked for the ban to be lifted, and it's been, how long ago? Jamie, do you remember? The ban's been lifted for a long time. So please let her know. I mean, she should know because she was, were you? Yeah, I know. I don't know which officer it was, but they actually went to her door and notified her that the ban was lifted. And if she would like to speak with me about anything, I do not have a problem speaking to your mom. It's just that with our past, things that have happened, I I need to be asked to come speak to her, but I have no problem speaking to her.
Well, the ban hadn't been lifted when a lot of other things about the divisions or the developments over there on Northwest Highway have been automatically just put on the agenda quickly and passed. She was not allowed to be here to represent herself and her property. Also, I raised my hand at the PC meeting. I raised my hand several times, and I was looked at, but no one called upon me. So I did do that in hopes to be spoken to.
Were you here I apologize, were you here at the beginning? Like, even during citizens' comments, you know, you can sign up and just, because was there an agenda that was, I'm not sure what was on the podium.
Yeah, so it's here, the Planning Commission.
So you can like
Agenda.
come in and get an agenda and read it and then sign up for citizens' comments.
Correct, but there were comments and things made during y'all's conversation afterwards, so I wouldn't have known what facts needed to be given at the time because I can't read the future. So for me to have had comments, I wouldn't have had any because I didn't know any details. I didn't know what was required of, how was it changing, what was it before. I didn't have that information to go and double check on before I made comments because I'm not gonna say anything unless I have facts first.
Okay.
So I just didn't have the facts to be able to come up with comments before the
And
meeting.
even though we took a vote and it is what it is, we're more than happy to listen to you at any time. And that's one reason why these town halls have been reinstated, so that we can listen to the community. And now that the ban has been lifted from your mother, if she would like to come and speak anytime, she's welcome. And if my phone number's everywhere. If she would like to speak to me, I'm more than happy to talk to her.
I will let her know.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, I'll just ask, is there a specific neighborhood in question for the bonds? Is there one in specific that we need to check on, or are you just saying in general? If you could, just make sure. So they can-
Sorry,
everybody can hear.
I should have asked if there were any other questions.
One of the ones that I actually spoke upon was the Otter Creek development is not finished, even though there were citizens that were told that it should be finished and there's no asphalt, but yet the bonds were renewed. And they were told that they were going to get asphalt in their development or subdivisions because right now they're running over the sewer things or whatever that's put in the middle of the roads. They're having to run over those with their vehicles. To get up in their driveway, they are having to hit that hard bump going from what's there up onto the concrete driveways. But yet the bond keeps getting renewed and these people are going through here and their cars are getting destroyed.
Has the city taken over the streets yet?
No, I don't specifically remember Otter Creek discussion. We had the discussion, Pinnock Place was across the street, and there were answers. I'm not sure if you were there that night or not. Pinnock Place did get paved. Otter Creek, I live right across the street from on Taylor Road. They just put sidewalks to Taylor Road, which was one of the steps to get towards the bond release. I don't think they've paved yet. The winter time, they can't pave. The answer when we asked it before was, we're not necessarily in the development, so we don't ever want to be paving roads. We don't have those resources. So, and traditionally, you're not going to release your bond until construction's near completion. A lot of times, it's 70 to 90% completion. Those roads are still being accessed right now for construction and phasing. They just started a new phasing. But when we did have that discussion, they said it was coming to be paved soon. I think that the sidewalks from planning staff told me that was some of the steps. They're starting those processes to try and release some of the front face bonds. It's costing, any developer money to hold a bond.
So I know that the whole main reason it wasn't, and this was at the meeting, is that it was going to be cheaper for the developer to pave, I think, the Richville development.
Pinnock Place and Otter Creek at the same time, yep.
And then to
That was
do
the
the
answer.
Otter Creek at the same time. It was going to be cheaper for him, but yet you still have these citizens going through this when they didn't pay for this. They paid great money for their homes, but they're still having to drive through this mess that does affect their vehicles, and it's not fair to them.
Well, the goal is you do the first coat, and then you still have construction. So they still have active construction on houses. There's a new phase that just started, and so there's dump trucks and heavy equipment still coming in. The goal for your final phase is to do it when most of the homes are finished, so it can be done and then it can be kept in good shape. And so you don't want to do it too soon, because then it's going to be in disrepair. And when he goes for his final bond release from us, we're going to ask him to make repairs. And so I think it just weird. Everybody has different timing based off of how the access and who's driving on it. So
Well, my question is, how long do they have?
the answer that night is we did not necessarily have a time frame. I think it was Sarah Toddy that answered it. Sarah Toddy was still here. She said, if it becomes something seems excessive, that it seems like someone is not working towards finalizing, we would probably question the bond more. But when she said that she had met with them at the time, when somebody's putting in sidewalks, it seems like they're still working towards that goal. We wouldn't want to call it and try and pave it ourselves and try and take on that cumbersome or that payment. It may be more or less or whatever. So
But I thought the bond, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought the bond is set, a certain amount is set for the bond. That way you have the funds to go finish it for them.
Yep.
But
Absolutely, that's the goal. But in the modern day world, nothing is ever what you think. And so our bonds are based off, I think they're 20% higher than there's a book that sets current modern labor rates. And so when our engineers place the bond limits, it's based off of those rates, what it should cost, and then we mark it up 20% for just in case. And so in theory, yeah, we should be able to go take that money and go do it. But since we're not in the paving business, we may not be able to get it done as cheap. We may not be able to get it done as fast. We're not in that development world. But I think as long as the development is working towards actively completing or pushing towards, we're not going to try and do that. I think if something sat stagnant for a year or 2 or 3 years and there was no construction active, there was nothing happening, we would start to question, they're never going to pave that road, we need to call that bond. But developers are paying banks or insurance companies to get bonds. It's costing them money to hold those bonds. So
Every time
they
they
want them
renew
off
it.
their books as quick as possible too, traditionally.
so technically, we don't have an expiration date.
I
Is what
think
we're
that's
saying.
what Sarah Toddy answered. It's at the discretion of the staff.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Street, if you'll hand this to your mom, it's my personal cell number.
Ms. Street, we did have a delay on a subdivision years ago, Kingwood subdivision, and we was lucky that we was able to still maintain the bond with that particular developer. We had to eventually call the bond and get Kingwood paved, and it's good that we were able to do that. I can't remember the exact reason why the delay was there. I think, Stuart, weren't you on the board at the time?
I was, and I believe that at the time, he had just stopped building here. He was just not, he pulled out.
Yeah.
And we were left with it.
Yeah. So
That
fortunately,
situation, we wouldn't, I've served on the planning commission for over 10 years, and I would have never voted to have called a bond if they were currently still working on it. Because that's, just like Vice Mayor said, we're not in the business of paving streets, especially when we don't want to go into it if we're gonna lose money. But I would never vote to release a bond either until the city takes over the streets. So if they're not up to standards, I'm not gonna release the bond, and I'm also not gonna accept the streets.
So no expiration date again.
And Mayor, one more thing. You mentioned Crocut. The application for Crocut annexation was for an R40 zoning, as essentially 1 acre per lot. So the discussion of how do we prevent them from doing more, well, we voted, some of us voted no, it was denied. That's what it did, because if it had been annexed and zoned R40, then they would have the right to have 1 acre lots. So they could come back to the planning commission and have 1 acre lots and design it. If there's 10 acres, they could have up to 10 houses. And so that is what we did, what you're saying. If they came to the planning commission with R40 zoning in place and met the zoning ordinance, we wouldn't legally be able to tell them no.
Right. And I get that, and I understand
I
that.
don't think that's,
And most everything that's annexed in, which to me, I really still feel that the annexation and the rezoning should be 2 separate meetings. But when they're annexed, they are automatically RS40. People don't have a problem with the RS40. The 1 acre lots are great. It's all about the higher density that you're piling in on us.
You just complained about the Crow-Cut piece that we denied, that was RS40, so I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, they wanted to do RS40. They wanted to be annexed so that they could split their property into 3 acre lots. And in order to do that and maintain the 5 acres required by Williamson County, then they couldn't. They have to be annexed in order to be able to get them to have their 3 separate lots. Because, as they tell us, they want 3 separate homes there. So that's why they want to be annexed. If they're not
They
in
requested R40 though, so that would have allowed for the higher density.
RS40. Let's make sure we put the S in there.
Well, they requested RS40 because that was the lowest density zoning we had at the time.
Or,
But you asked the question, what prevents
Lowest
them?
density.
What prevents them from building more? And you said us. Well, it was denied. If it would have obtained an R40, RS40, my apologies, they could have come back and submitted. Someone could have knocked on their door and said, "I'll give you $2 million. I want to put 10 houses on it," and they could have come back and we couldn't have denied it.
okay, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. If you listen to the citizens that have been coming up here and trying to fight for what they believe is right, they're against all the higher density R20 and more dense properties. My mom was fine with RS40 over there, but she went in and approved a higher density. 1 acre lots is beautiful. If you look in going down Franklin to work, what's wrong with having 1 acre lots? If that's what they wanted. But what I'm saying is that they wanted it to do this particular reason, and even if they went and did RS40 and put 1 acre homes with 1 acre lots on there, that's not anywhere compared to what you're doing up here now. And especially the one that y'all just passed that was an RM8, that the 2040 plan had nothing like that in there, and y'all passed it.
Which subdivision are you talking about?
That's the development over there off of 96 in Lake Road. So I was here. at
No,
that one.
I'm just,
Yeah.
there's several things that have been passed. I just wanted to make sure I understood which one you're talking about.
Right. It's the one over there, if I'm not mistaken, it's around Parkland Park. And it's Till Mangrum. And he wanted RM8.
The multifamily?
Yes, and when they read how it compares to the 2040 plan, it didn't compare to the 2040 plan whatsoever, and y'all were told that,
Mayor,
but
if I
you
may.
still made it denser. So,
I think if I remember correctly on that one, that at the time, the current zoning that was on that property would have allowed for a mobile home park to be put on it. So by rezoning it, yes, you're right, it was a little outside the boundaries of the 2040 plan. However, the alternative was for them, the applicant, to pull their application and stick with the zoning that was currently on there. And not saying that they would have done it, but it would have been within their right to slap a mobile home park on it. And I don't think anybody wanted that.
okay, this is y'all's developers doing this stuff.
What does that mean?
So that means that you probably could have talked them into not doing mobile homes. I do know that there was a citizen had said that she was threatened by one of the developers that if she didn't approve the higher density, that they were going to make sure there are 1 acre mobile homes. Mobile homes have to have 1 acre. So there's not as many. And the mobile homes nowadays actually look pretty darn good. And I think that people who actually own their mobile homes that are paying for what it's going to be worth take care of theirs a lot better than people who rent.
Is that true, that mobile homes have to be on 1 acre? I'm sorry, I really don't know.
We had pretty in-depth discussion on the 2040 plan at the Planning Commission when that came through. So for you to say that we just disregard 24 plan is not true, not fair. But when we read it that night, the RSM 40, that allows manufactured mobile homes allowed for up to 8 per unit. It was an 8,000 square foot lot. We also talked about how the 2040 plan, as drawn, because that transition corridor is what that corridor is. It's purple on the map. There was over 70% of the parcels that are currently in that transition corridor did not meet the future use and could never meet the future use based off size or zoning that's currently in place. And so that transition corridor, that's the future vision for the 2040 plan, is already not captured and will never be captured. And so the discussion was, okay, well, what fits best for this area? I think it was like 40-something units or somewhere around there. And so did RM8, which is the lowest multifamily density we have, capture or fit, and would that fit better based off, there's some commercial around it, there's some multifamily next to it already, does that fit and capture it in the vision? So we had that in-depth discussion at the Planning Commission meeting, and it ultimately got approved at the Planning Commission.
Which in this case, the other stuff that was already zoned that was done not putting a 2040 plan into consideration, which is why it was already zoned the more dense, the more density.
The 2040 plan didn't exist when all these zones are in place. Like, it wants transitional, but there's already commercial. Or it wants transitional that requires a 1 acre lot, but 15 of the lots are less than 1 acre through there. And so the 2040 plan wasn't in place when all that happened. That was the existing current zoning that has happened over the years, over forever.
Then why was it rezoned to RM8 and not just stayed what it was?
What it was would allow for mobile homes.
Okay.
And that discussion was had at the Planning Commission in pretty detail. That's why we have it in that process.
Zoning exists on a piece of property forever until it's changed by the property owner in the state of Tennessee. You're aware of that, right?
Yes. Oh,
So,
I know.
and every single piece of property has a current zoning on it to some degree, whether it was put on there 75 years ago or yesterday. And until that gets changed, that zoning remains with that property.
Right. I understand that. But why would you zone something RM8 when it's too much density in that area?
Because it
and
could have
it's
had a mobile
against-
home park on it
Okay.
With the same density.
with the same density.
Okay. Like I said, mobile homes,
So for the record, just so we know, you prefer mobile homes over
RM8.
multifamily homes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot less people piled
Noted.
on us than the
Appreciate it.
RM8. And,
I mean,
and the mobile homes are a lot nicer nowadays, too.
Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
You mentioned driving to Franklin and 1 acre lots. Which subdivision are you referring to?
Well, let's see. I travel from 96 here down 100, down 96 to Franklin.
But once you get on 96 going to Franklin, which subdivision are you speaking of with the 1 acre lots? Are you
They
talking
are-
about once you get to Franklin, or?
Right. Once you get past the square,
Oh.
going out towards Matt Catcher and going down 96 on out to towards the interstate, there are some 1 acre lots there, and they're very nice. And they're more spread out. You still have the greenway. You still have oxygen producing plants out there, and you're not in a concrete city that's affecting the air we breathe. It keeps us more of a rural area like we're supposed to be.
Were you familiar with the Donaldson Creek Parkway that Marshall was speaking about earlier? The Sullivan Farm subdivision?
No, I've never seen it.
You had never seen it? It's a pretty nice subdivision, and when I spoke earlier about D.R. Horton's homes, they're in that section called the Highlands, which is part of that. They range from 2,700 feet to 3,600 feet. And guess how big the lots are? 0.2, 5 per acre.
You can
They're
spit on your neighbor's house.
$900,000, and this place is immaculate. It's unbelievable. Now, I don't want to live like that. I don't want my neighbors that close, but there's a lot of people that do. And that's why everybody should have the right to whether they want to live in Castleberry on a half an acre, or they want to buy 15 acres and live on a little mini farm, or whatever. I don't know that you or me or anybody as an individual should dictate how people choose to live.
Right, but you're leaving out the options of the people that just would like a 1 acre lot with a nice white picket fence and a house. I mean, y'all are taking that away from people.
We're not taking it away from anybody. We don't arbitrarily just go out and rezone people's properties. They come to us and ask us to rezone their property. I can assure you that your mother's place that you're talking about has been rezoned at some point. It was subdivided, it was something off of a major farm. So people do things throughout their lives that make changes. And I just don't think that we should be telling people or speaking for other people. If all these people that believe the same way you said, and everybody's for RS-40 or against RS-40, this place would be packed and a meeting would last 10 hours. But we just don't hear it. So I don't understand where the disconnect is.
I do. I understand. And I know that a lot of things are said that where a lot of the reasoning I get and have heard is that you can't tell people what they can and can't do on their own property, but yet you are. That's what you're doing.
How are we telling anybody what they can or can't do on their property?
On Crowcut, y'all told them they can't be annexed, so they can't.
They are county residents.
Right. And they spend their money here in Fairview. They live here in Fairview.
They live in the county.
So the property next to your mother's can't be annexed, but the one that's non-contiguous, that doesn't meet the future growth plan, should be annexed. Is that correct? Just pick and choose.
I mean, if I never had a problem, and this was the thing, I never had a problem if people wanted to be annexed. That's fine. If they want to pay city taxes, that's fine. But to not let them is that they want to live in the city limits. They want to pay the property taxes because they want to be able to put a home on their acreage, their family land.
With the creation of the new zoning, I bet you see that family part of the city quicker than you think. I
So-
can't speak for the members of this board and how they're gonna vote, but I can tell you I'm gonna vote for them. If it completely passes this new zoning, I guess it's RS 120 instead of 40, which is the 3-acre zoning that I asked to be created. It's gonna be beneficial for the future, and these people will qualify for that, and I hope it passes for them.
Have you told them? Have you explained any of that to them?
Absolutely.
And how do you feel about getting that passed?
I feel great about it. I just don't know how the other members feel.
Right. It takes all of you.
Takes
Well, it
three
takes
of us.
three of the five.
And we literally just created a new zoning for literally their specific situation for no other reason other than that.
I'm in
So that when we-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over.
No, you're fine. So when we do annex that property, you understand that when you annex a property, it has to be zoned something, right? You can't
Right.
have a property that just says, oh, there's no zoning on it. So what zoning, if R40 is inappropriate, you wanted annexation and rezoning to be two separate meetings, well, which one comes first? We don't have the authority to rezone a property that is not city property, it's in city limits, but you can't annex a property into city limits and not put some level of zoning on it immediately. Otherwise, what if they decide to go 6 months before they want to have the rezoning? Why would you not want those two things to happen at the same time?
So I know that the RS-40, when you're annexed, you are automatically RS-40. So, because family experience, which was not brought back up like you promised. So it was RS-40, a family farm annexed, RS-40, and it's not, but everything is annexed RS-40. So what I mean about the zoning is annexing it and then immediately turning around right then and rezoning it for more density. That needs to be looked at and separated.
It's not always rezoned for more density. These people that were
Majority.
denied the other night were brought in at the lowest density at the time that we offered. Still currently the lowest that we offer, because we haven't had 2 readings on the new one. So I don't really understand what you're saying. They didn't come in asking for high density. They asked for the lowest density that we offer.
Exactly.
So where's the problem?
Exactly. Because they wanted the lowest density, but y'all are afraid they are going to want to do higher density later on.
We're not
For
afraid
the
of that. The
record,
citizens that
for the
spoke.
record, I voted for them. So
Right.
I'm not lumped in with that.
And I abstained from the vote because I didn't agree with how the vote was going. And I
No.
abstained at the planning commission level as well. But the new one, like I said, I hope it passes for them because it meets their needs.
While we're at it, I'm happy to explain why I voted no. I don't know why you think I voted that way. It was no ill will. I actually spoke with him for quite some time after the meeting, explaining to him that it was nothing personal, that I hope that we can figure out a solution to make it work. And I think that we're working on that. I think that there's a lot more to the picture than you're not considering. So when you have a non-contiguous piece of property that you are saying, hey, this is Fairview, we want this little island out here to be ours, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. It's not recommended, but you can do it. There's nothing against it. However, you are creating, and it doesn't take a whole lot of, I guess, leaps and bounds to get to this understanding. You're drawing attention to that corridor, right? Like right now, no one was talking about that area prior to that annexation. Now it's a hot topic. We're all talking about it. Well, you know who else is talking about it and looking at it? Developers that are looking for larger pieces of property so that they can come and develop. Well, what you do when you create a non-contiguous piece of property like that and you annex it, you've just created a growth corridor. It is now in our city's best interest to make a connection to that island out there. So if anything between there and here comes in and wants it to be annexed, of course it makes good sense for us to do it. Now we're steamrolling that entire corridor. As soon as someone can get a hold of a property, you get a couple new houses built. Let's say it's just 3. Well, what if the neighbor now, hey, we got 3 new houses over here. It's just a matter of time before we're going to have a development right next door. So they decide to get out while they can. So they sell their farm. You can't tell who, I mean, you could specifically sell it to an individual, but if you put it on the open market, you're not going to stop someone from giving you top dollar. A developer buys it, and now here we go. And then 10 years from now, you've got all kinds of development out that way, and you just change the look of that area forever. So I think it's reckless to just go in and say, yes, let's annex this property because these people seem like good people. There's a lot more than that, more to it than that. It has absolutely nothing to do with the applicant. 0. I cannot stress that more.
Well, again, as you are ignoring the whole point that it's not, no, it's not going to be any more dense than the RS-40 unless y'all approve it if it comes up to them asking to have it rezoned.
Just stood at the podium and told them the RS-40 would be too much. That's why I voted no. I mean, like,
I didn't say
talking circles.
RS-40 would be too much.
And if can, so the 2040 plan is critical. It's a vision. It was done from a very high view. And so not every piece of parcel is right. We've got current neighborhoods that show a future use that don't match what it was or what they shown in there. So it's critical that we have this roadmap and this guidance. I have a spreadsheet that I try and keep that shows developments prior to it. So your Cumberland Estates, your Western Woods, much higher density projects, smaller lot sizes, which I could stand over here and argue that we need it in Fairview too, affordability, or people want different options. But since that 2040 plan has gone into place, the density on the old developments, some that still are not developed that are still out there, so you would probably say we approved it or whatever, but it was already approved or master plan pled, with the average density was 2.4 to 2.6, somewhere in that, units per acre, total on the overall acreage. Since the 2040 plan, we are just under 1 acre per unit on density. So that means if you have a 200-acre piece, there'd be 200 houses, what our average is right now. The lot sizes have gone from 5,000 and 7,500 square foot to 10, 15, 20,000. We have R40 subdivisions currently being developed and planned to be developed for 1-acre lots. And so we're following that 2040 plan, creating different uses. We can't just be a one-use town. You're having different visions and trying to create an overall master plan and vision like the 2040 plan wants you to do. But at the direction of that plan, there's been a mass drop in density per acre and an increase in lot sizes. The math is there. It is proof. And so it is working, in my opinion. We're about to do an RFQ for rewrite our zoning ordinance. We'll have citizen input. We'll have planning commission input. Everybody get to put in, and we'll rewrite and kind of create and even more further put a vision to our units. And so during that discussion, if every citizen comes in here and says, we want a 5-acre lot option, we want a 3-acre lot option, we want a 10-acre lot option, that would be something that gets added. And so Most of the new zoning ordinance is being written right now. It would be a 1 acre lot, RS 40, but then it goes into as far as design and detail. What's it got to look like? What's the architecture? And so our zoning ordinance is going to go from pretty simple to a very thorough, in-depth piece. And we're going to continue to progress and continue to have better development overall long-term planning, because we're going to continue to spend money on documents that educate us and make us better. That's the goal. So the 2040 plan, in my opinion, is working. We have dropped in density. We have increased in lot size.
Add to that, I think the most important thing to remember, though, is you can't just see a new development because the ground is being bulldozed and you just assume that it was passed yesterday. Oftentimes, it wasn't. It was passed a long time ago. There's no timeline for those to take place. They can sit on it as long as they want before they start building. So when you see a new development, and if it is something that's like super high density, it's worth looking into to find out when that was passed and when it was approved. It has been a long time, at least since I've been on the Planning Commission, that we've approved like single-family super dense. I don't think it's happened. I think everything is growing in lot size. The super small stuff it's old. It was things that were passed years ago.
I'm very aware of when these things were started and when they were zoned and what has gone on. But again, how can you let things happen that are extremely high density and turn around and say that the lot sizes are getting bigger?
Because the lot sizes are getting bigger.
I have a spreadsheet for you.
As
if
RMA.
you want to look at it. Yeah.
The RMA.
No,
Well-
RM8 lots are still RM8 lots. What we're saying is that there's less of those and that there's higher density within the single-family residential. That the density is decreasing and the lot size is increasing. I mean, but we can sit here and argue until midnight if you'd like, but the numbers are, I mean, I don't know how you could argue with that. You take how many lots were on a development, what the overall size of the development was, do some simple math, and you'll get an average. Do that across the board with all of the developments that have been done over the last 5 years, and there you go. And you bring us those numbers and say our math is wrong, and then we can talk about it, but I'm telling
can
you
do
it's
that.
not. So our math is just wrong.
No, I'm just saying I can bring you the numbers.
Do you truly think that the city should have one lot size and that's all we offer?
No, what I'm saying is that you have completely flooded Fairview with developments that we can't keep up with, that at this point, you need to slow down. Let us get caught up. Let us get caught up with the traffic issues, with the school issues, with the water and the sewer issues. Let us get caught up and quit approving high density right now. Give us a chance.
Do you know how many building permits were pulled last year? Do you know?
No,
What would you guess?
I can't tell you.
I think it's valuable for you to take a guess. If you can, take a stab at it. I mean, how many new homes do you think were built in the city of Fairview last year?
I can't tell you. I'm not going to guess for something I can't, because it'll turn around on me.
How
I'm not
can you
going to
make a
guess.
statement of uncontrollable growth and not even know? It was like 125. It dropped in 2023 from 2022. There was less houses last year than there were in 2022. And then in 2021, we were right around that number. So and you say, we don't want to be like Spring Hill. In Spring Hill's heydays, it was 1,500, 2,000 permits a year. Right now, we've averaged in the last 3 to 4 years, 120-ish. It's not an uncontrollable, crazy growth. It's the slowest in any county around us.
Remember, I was there.
Anyone in the county.
Okay, what's wrong with that? But the fact that we're getting
We're just saying
permits,
that's what's happening.
we're getting permits,
We're doing our best. We really
but
are.
they're permits for developments.
They're what?
Well, and let me just say this. If families didn't sell their farms to developers, they wouldn't be developed. So, I mean, I'm sorry if they choose to sell their farm, that's what can happen.
Okay, they sell them to a developer, but then when the developer wants to come in and rezone it for high density, that's where y'all can say no to help protect Fairview until we get caught up.
So follow the 2040 plan or don't follow the 2040 plan.
Follow it,
Well,
minus what already has been done against it.
if we follow it, there's a whole lot of high-density areas in the 2040 plan. So are you saying don't pass those?
And they're not, the high density has been placed in other places against the 2040 plan. And not where the 2040 plan, where the citizens wanted them put.
I think the only one that I'm aware of is the RM8 you just talked about on Highway 96 in the Tradition Corridor that we had an in-depth discussion about not meeting the 2040 plan. Is there another one you're aware of that doesn't meet the 2040 plan?
I'm sure I could find some more to have on top of my
You
head.
make
I don't
these
have them on top of
blanket
my head.
statements. You make these blanket statements, and you have no factor data to back it up.
I can get you
continue
facts.
to spread misinformation about me personally, about Fairview, everything, and so you've never called me and asked me to have a conversation. You make these statements. It's very frustrating. We're talking in circles. We're trying to provide data and information to you, and every time we say something, you spin it a different way. So I think I'm done answering.
It's fine.
I'd like to make one more point too. We have a really great video that's on our city website. And not just you, but I encourage everyone to look at this if they think that we're overpopulated or overgrown. It is the Welcome to Fairview, and there is an aerial view of Fairview that's 90% green. And you can see it from an aerial view, which really gives you an idea of how little that we actually do build out here.
And you can actually see in what she's talking about, see the huge land area, because
I've
if you
watched-
look at it, the park is 700 acres.
Yeah, so you
And
can
we're
compare.
talking of thousands of undeveloped acres.
Undeveloped land.
Okay, I've seen it, and I understand. And I do have facts, and I will provide them. So I'm good with stopping now too, because I'll get my facts and provide them for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to it.
Is anyone else wanting to speak? Or we're at 8:30, which is about 30 minutes past, but we're happy to answer everyone's questions. All right, so thank you all for being here. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us. And our next town hall, it should be, I know, hold on. Hold on, let me look real quick. Yes. Okay, the next one is in May. The next town hall will be May 30th, Thursday, May 30th. So put it on your calendar, and we'll enjoy another town hall meeting. Thank you.